If you stood in the wings of the Starling Civic Playhouse on the Thursday before opening night, you could taste two things in the stale air: sawdust from hastily stapled flats and the coppery fear of everyone who realized a little too late that Camelot on a shoestring was about to fall apart. Sophia Avellaneda, the volunteer costumer, was generally immune to the chaos. In 7 seasons, she had coaxed laundromat shrunken capes into credible Renaissance cloaks and turned carnival Mardi Gras trinkets into Elizabethan jewelry. She was the one who knew which thrift shop number would fit whose shoulders and which zipper needed dry soap to slide. When people panicked, they looked for Sophia's calm silhouette bent over her ancient singer, because as long as she was still stitching, there was hope. But at 6:12 p.m., 2 hours before the final dress rehearsal, Sophia's calm deserted her. The crown was gone. Not the plastic rehearsal placeholder, and not the flimsy foam thing used for chorus photos. The missing piece was her pride. A brass circlet she had rescued from a junk store, resurfaced with gold leaf, then studded with glass stones she'd cut herself. It was the only bit of glitter convincing enough to read like real royalty beneath the patchwork lighting rig that passed for the theatre's front-of-house spots. And now it was not on its hook behind the costume racks where she had hung it the night before. Sophia counted, aloud and shaking, the other principal props on the checklist tacked to the pegboard. Swords, 3 of 4. She found the 4th under a pile of seat cushions. Goblet, present. Crested flag banner, rolled awkwardly but present. And, highlighted in fluorescent marker, King Arthur's crown. She sucked in a breath. Performers could improvise around missing cups and banners. A missing crown in a play literally titled Camelot was a mortal wound. The stage manager, Tyler Chen, found Sophia crouched under the costume table. He mistook her rummaging for a seizure. Need help? She sat up, dust bunnies in her hair. The crown's gone. Tyler's clipboard slipped from his hand and clapped the floor like a gavel. No, you're joking. If I was, I'd be laughing. Have you seen it? I touched it yesterday, I think. His cheeks drained of colour. Only to move it so no one else would knock it over. Where did you move it? His eyes slid toward stage left, where an army of black extension cords snaked up the proscenium wall. Someone, probably Tyler himself, had suspended cheap work lamps from a crossbar because the real ellipsoidals were still out for repair. A memory flashed, him nailing a 2x4 into the cinder block wall and shouting over the hammer, "Just for tonight." Sophia followed his gaze. Please tell me you didn't put a metal crown on a metal bar under an open lamp socket. I might have, but I wrapped the socket cap in gaffer. With what ground? She hissed. This building was wired before the moon landing. If you bridged the neutral pin to that iron beam, we'll check. As they hurried across the stage, the house lights flicked on, then off, stuttering like a broken film. Sophia looked up. The DIY lighting grid Tyler and his crew called Frankenrig flickered again, the filaments inside the bulbs glowing a bruised blue before stabilizing. Great, she thought. Some genius had tied the house lights into the same breaker feeding the new rig. She reached the wall and scanned the crossbar. No crown. She climbed a rolling paint scaffold. Ignoring stage etiquette, she stayed in her stocking feet to avoid scarring the floor, and inspected the board top to bottom. Nothing. Only dust and the acrid smell of singed insulation. Down below, Tyler shouted, "Props table!" Sophia sprinted to it, overturned baskets. Empty. The rehearsal clock struck 10 minutes to call. Actors began filtering on stage in half costume. Their chatter swelled in the echoing space as they brandished cell phone flashlights to find missing bits of clothing. The Crown's absence rippled through them in whispers. "Heard the big one's gone. We dead." Tyler's fired. But when Mason Clark, the 23-year-old playing Arthur, arrived, he refused to panic. Mason, handsome enough to make the city council's tourism brochures, despite the chin dimple he loathed, had a knack for radiating authority. He swept a hand through his blonde hair, still gelled from his day job filming an insurance commercial, and said, "We'll manage. I'll mime it tonight, Sophia." "You can't mime a crown," she said. "The fight choreography works around the glare from the glass stones. Without that glare, Lancelot's entrance beat is useless." "I'll tilt my head dramatically," Mason offered. "No," she sighed, but her chest warmed at his gallant attempt. "You'll get whiplash," he grinned. "I've had worse on set." Sophia, eyes brimming with worry, pivoted away. She needed facts, not pep talks, logic. A brass crown doesn't sprout legs. Someone moved it. Who and why? She backtracked through the day. Before lunch, she'd hung the crown after repadding the inner rim. At 2, the chorus had been called for vocal warm-ups. The backstage hallway would have been empty, except perhaps for the maintenance contractor installing new footlights at the lip of the stage. An older man named Milo, with nicotine-yellow moustache bristles and a talent for shortcuts. She remembered Milo cursing because the theatre board wouldn't pay for proper low-voltage lamps, meaning he had to jury-rig a solution, his words. Her stomach coiled. Milo. She headed for the loading bay, hoping he was still on site. Sure enough, Milo's white van squatted beside the dumpster. The sliding door was ajar. Sophia peered inside. Coils of cable, a toolbox, rolls of metallic tape. And there, half hidden under a rag, the brass crown. She froze. Lightning flashed, not in the sky, but in her mind. Milo, short on parts, sees a nice, solid brass ring shading those cheap bulbs. Thinks perfect for diffusing my overspill glare. He borrows the crown, uses it to test spacing, then stashes it. But why in his van? She climbed in, picked up the crown. A length of 2 conductor wire still clung to one of its fleur-de-lis points. Someone had scraped away the gold leaf to reveal raw brass, then soldered the wire to it. Her heart jackhammered. Whoever did this wasn't just using it as a shade. They'd actually integrated it into the lighting circuit. The crown had become a conductor. Footsteps behind. She whirled. Milo. "Evening," he said. He didn't sound apologetic. "That's theatre property." She showed him the solid scar. "What the hell, Milo?" He scratched his moustache. "Needed a makeshift bus for ground return. Brass is good for that. I was going to bring it back." "Return it electrified?" "It's low voltage once I hook in the isolation transformer. Perfectly safe." "You isolated nothing," Sophia snapped, brandishing the dangling wire. "You tapped directly into the Frankenrig. If someone wears this—" Milo shrugged. "Didn't figure anyone would." She pushed past him, crown clutched like a threatened kitten. "You should be ashamed. These kids trust you." "Kids? They're adults. And trust me, I do this for a living." Sophia spun around. "You do cut corners for a living. There's a difference." She marched off. Behind her, Milo muttered something about people who don't know electricity. Inside, she ran to Tyler. Found it. He exhaled relief until she added, "But look." When she explained, Tyler paled again. They agreed. Milo's improvised wiring had to be undone before anyone touched the crown. "Kill main power," Sophia said. "Can't," Tyler replied. "City inspectors here. If we shut down, they push us to another time slot, and we lose patrons." She glared. "An electrocuted actor also ruins patron turnout." Tyler rubbed his temples. We have 10 minutes until the inspector does the walkthrough. We need the lights on. What if we insulate the crown? Sophia barked a laugh. With what? Bubble wrap? It has wires solid to bare brass. We need a proper ground and removal of that wire. She grabbed wire cutters from the toolbox and severed it. Sparks leapfrogged between the jaws and the copper strands. She jumped back, cursing. "Liv," she snarled. "Everything Milo touched is hot." Tyler reached for the breaker panel backstage, but Sophia grabbed his wrist. "We can't isolate which circuit he hijacked. We kill them all or leave them." A beat of silence. Mason came striding over. "Good news?" He brightened when he saw the crown. "Bad news," Sophia corrected. Tyler summarized. Mason frowned, then asked the question they all silently feared. "What if we go on anyway?" "Not with that thing on your head," Sophia said. "Without it, I'm just a guy in tights," Mason replied. The house lights flickered again. An incandescent bulb above them burst with a pop, sprinkling glass on the boards. Tyler jolted back. Several actors screamed. Sophia stared at the shards, calculating. The surge came when she cut the wire, meaning Milo had piggybacked the crown onto a loop powering multiple lamps. If unbalanced, the rig could overload. She took charge. "Everyone off stage, now." Actors scattered. She turned to Tyler. "Call Milo. Tell him to disconnect whatever the hell he added. Already tried, he claims it's sound. He's lying or reckless." Tyler's radio crackled. "Stage manager, front lobby. Inspector wants the house tour." Tyler looked torn. "I can't cancel. We'll never open." Sophia grabbed his clipboard. "Go charm the inspector. I'll unfry this." "You sure?" "Costumers know thread. Threads conduct electricity when they're copper and shaped like wires." "Close enough." She forced a smile. "Go." Tyler left. Sophia donned work gloves and examined the crown. The solder joint formed a jagged glob. She grabbed a battery-powered solder iron from the props bench. Some director once insisted a scientist character use it as a laser pointer, and began reheating the joint to free the wire stub, singing softly to keep nerves steady. When the brass absorbed heat and the solder softened, she wiped it clean with a rag. She needed to test if the crown still carried charge. She found a multimeter in the lighting cabinet, clipped the lead to the crown, touched the other to a ground lug on the frame. 0 volts. Good. But electricity tended to hide. She'd test again after rewiring. And yet, a darker idea crawled in. What if Milo had spliced more than one line? What if current would flow only when the rig hit full brightness, something that would happen during rehearsal finale cues? If Mason placed the crown then, power might arc through him to the grounded stage floor. Even at 120 volts, a metal circlet could deliver a fatal jolt across the temples. She couldn't just fix the crown. She needed to protect Mason. She also couldn't fully dismantle the rig in 15 minutes. But she could outsmart it. Plan. Keep crown off Mason's head until after the finale cues. Substitute a placebo identical in weight, so choreography stayed intact. Then, before curtain, swap in the real crown once she confirmed voltage safe. She had in her kit a foam rehearsal crown. She could gold spray it, glue glass pebbles, maybe pass muster in the half-brightness of the stage perimeter. She dashed to the costume shop annex, grabbed aerosol gold paint, sprayed the foam circlet, dusted it with glitter meant for fairy wings, and hot-glued 3 rhinestones to the front. She weighed it in her palms, too light. She snatched a roll of fishing sinkers, taped them inside the foam. Better. Back on stage, she found Mason pacing. She handed him the fake. Wear this until I give signal. He rotated it. Looks fine. It's foam, she admitted, but safe. He peered at her. You're shaking. Only with adrenaline, she whispered. Remember, don't remove it until after scene 10. I'll swap at the blackout. Why risk the swap at all? Because the final tableau needs the real sparkle, or audiences will blame the lights, not the crown. The board will fault Tyler and cut funding. We need everything to dazzle so we get through the weekend and the donors' gala. He sighed affectionately. You're heroically stubborn, Sophia. Go run lines, she said, pushing him backstage. Let me fight my war. While the company assembled, Sophia slipped to the wings where the breaker closet lived. She traced Milo's new cables, cheap lamp wire, no rating, wound into bundles, then split to feed extra footlights and a row of clamp-on floods overhead. She spotted a brass ferrule similar to those on the crown, now crimped onto a bare copper ground wire strung along the truss. The ferrule glinted, brass again. Milo had created a bus bar by repurposing costumes and scrap. She unscrewed the ferrule, replaced it with a proper copper lug she found in the dimmer rack's spare kit, and tightened it with pliers. One by one, she repeated the process on 2 other suspicious joints. Sweat crawled down her spine. Someone called 5 minutes to places. She closed the breaker cabinet, wiped smudges from her hands, and returned the real crown to its peg with a red ribbon tied around it, her guarantee of safety. When the inspector left, satisfied with Tyler's flustered explanations and the half-lit stage ambience, rustic charm, Tyler said, house lights dimmed, overture. Sophia watched from the costume alcove, fake crown gleaming like dull brass candy. The opening went smoothly. The chorus danced, the audience of preview donors clapped politely, none the wiser. Scene 8, full court assembly. Mason delivered the "In serving each other, we serve the realm" monologue. Sophia noted Milo lurking by the dimmer board, a scowl in his moustache. He kept fiddling with a pocket voltage tester. She realized he wanted to prove his original scheme functional, maybe to salvage pride. Dangerous. Scene 9. Lancelot's betrayal revealed. Mason knelt to surrender Excalibur, foam crown shifting slightly. The Frankenrig flared to maximum as lightning effect. Nothing buzzed. Good. Sophia permitted herself one silent cheer. Blackout. Crew shifted scenery. Scene 10. Coronation reaffirmed. The script called for a half-minute transition. A hush falls over Camelot as dawn's first light caresses the battlements. Practical translation. Tyler faded warm amber floods upstage, while a cool front wash lit the king alone downstage center, meant to catch the crown's jewels and scatter starbursts across the walls. Without that sparkle, the scene lost magic. She tiptoed into the wings holding the real crown wrapped in cloth. Mason, waiting for his entrance, winked. She slipped the foam circlet off, passed him the real one. "Shine," she whispered. He set it on his head. He looked every inch a king. She retreated to the fly rail, heart thrumming. Tyler called the cue. Amber sunrise rose, then the cool front wash struck the crown. The jewels shot prisms, audience gasped, spell achieved. And then, impossibly, Mason stiffened. His knees locked, shoulders jerked, mouth opened, but no sound came. Sophia recognized the pose, current forcing every muscle taut. A tiny arc skittered from the crown to the microphone pinned to his tunic. She moved before thought, ran full tilt across backstage, yanked the main breaker lever. The theatre plunged into darkness. Gasps rippled through audience and cast. Mason collapsed like a felled marionette. Sophia screamed his name, skidded on her knees beside him. In the somber glow of emergency exit lights, she saw his chest rise, shallow but steady. She pried the crown off. It was hot, and flung it clear. Tyler, breathless, knelt opposite. "Paramedics?" "Call," she ordered. Someone sprinted. Mason's eyelids fluttered. "Show! Stop!" "Intermission," she lied. Tears blurred her vision. "You did great," he chuckled weakly. "Figured the new crown felt warm." "That was heat of battle," she whispered. Within minutes, paramedics arrived, strapped him to a gurney. The audience murmured. Someone from the board demanded to know why power failed. Tyler, voice cracking, announced a technical anomaly and offered refunds. Few took them. Small-town patrons were loyal. After the ambulance left, Sophia marched to Milo, now pale as stage paint. He stammered, "My bus bar wasn't the problem. Someone must have reconnected." Sophia held up the crown, scorched at the node. "When I fixed your mess, I missed this." She pointed to the inner band, where a hairline crack revealed a second wire embedded in the padding. Hidden, still live, making contact only when the crown compressed onto Mason's head. Milo's face sagged. "Copper foil," he whispered. "I used it to carry the neutral back from the overhead floods. Forgot all about it. He could have died." Her voice shook. "You gamble with shortcuts. I'm reporting you." He didn't protest. The board gathered in a panic. Insurance forms, inspector recall, news outlets. They swirled like a storm. But one question repeated. How soon could the show resume? Sophia stood before them, crown in gloved hand. "We opened Saturday as planned, but under conditions, no improvised wiring, certified electrician only. Replace every light Milo touched, and buy a proper crown stand with insulation mat." Her voice carried like flint-striking steel. The chairwoman blinked at her ferocity, then nodded. "Done." 2 days later, Mason, discharged with only singed hair and bruised pride, returned for final tech. Tyler had hired a licensed crew. Brand new LED profiles glowed safely overhead. Sophia had recoated the crown, added a plastic insulator liner, and installed a ground wire leading to a hidden breakaway clip that detached if voltage exceeded safe levels. Overkill, but she slept again. Before places, Mason sought her out. "Rumor says you saved my life twice, finding the crown and cutting power." "Technically, Milo almost saved you," she joked, "by forcing me to qualify as amateur electrician." He gazed at her. "Buy you dinner after curtain? I owe my queen." She flushed. "I work in costuming. We prefer sewing circles to thrones." "Then we'll eat where they let us spill thread everywhere." Laughing, she squeezed his hand. "Yes." That night, when Mason strode on stage, the crown flashed flawlessly, energy coming only from 20 new LEDs and 200 hearts in the audience. Backstage, Sophia listened to the applause swell, and this time she could taste only sawdust. No fear, no metal tang of impending doom, because she had wrestled a reckless current and won. And somewhere in the darkened parking lot, a white van sat silent, its back doors sealed. Inside, lengths of cheap wire coiled like harmless snakes, waiting for someone desperate or foolish to wake them. But not here. Not tonight. The Starling Civic Playhouse had learned, painfully, that no show, however enchanting, is worth a single spark of human life.